Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen. With me today, the man who is thoughts become things, neo-positivity. This is your daily dose of happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today. And Neo, I know that you were excited when you heard who our guest was today. And I saw how excited you were when Dale came onto the screen. But you gotta connect the dots for listeners, okay? So before we even get to know our guest, Dale Audrey, why were you so excited today?
Well, I saw Oral next to her name, and then I looked over and I saw R.D.H, and I said, this is dental right here. This is the dental field. You guys know I've been heavily involved with the dental space and, trying to do something about the depression and suicide rate. And I'm always asking dental professionals to fill me in, because I never worked in the office, on some of the things that they go through and some of the things that they work on to get through some of the issues. And I got a perfect opportunity right here to get all that good information, ask as many questions as I want.
And look at the smile on his face. This is going to be fun.
I'm ready.
So Dale Audrey, as you mentioned, is an R.D.H. It's a registered dental hygienist, and she's on a mission. She's on a mission to help people in a lot of different ways. I'm not going to steal her thunder. I'm going to let her tell the story. But Dale, first of all, thank you for joining us, because you're joining us from the car you just rented because you've been going through crazy stuff. I mean, you're a trooper. You're doing this show, even though your life right now is kind of turned upside down. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I persevere no matter what. I will always make it through to the top. I'm a true Capricorn, so that's my journey.
All right. Well, tell us about that journey. How did you get to where you are today?
So my father was actually a periodontist, and I graduated from high school and went straight to hygiene school with the recommendation from my father that I should be a hygienist. And I would watch him in the office doing surgery on people, and it was so barbaric and so horrendous that yes,
This is the one with the green.
that both. Sorry. So it was so horrendous that I just said, I have to do something about this and help prevent people from getting to this stage, because the oral care, at that point, you're either losing your teeth or paying thousands of dollars. It's very painful. It's just horrible.
Depression.
So that vision just stuck in my head, and I became a hygienist. I graduated in 1983 and practiced for a few years. Then I decided I wanted to expand my horizons. I saved my money up and I went and found a job in Florence, Italy, and lived there for 5 years practicing. Fortunately, I didn't have to say much. I just learned how to speak Italian to say open, close, turn right, turn left. So that was good for me. And I stayed there, learned the language, taught hygiene school actually there, because at the time in the 80s, they didn't even have hygienists. I came back to the US because I had this dream, and I woke up in the middle of the night, literally, and I had this vision of a dental office that was very like the undental experience. So I had woken up and I told my father this story, and he said, "Oh, that sounds great. Write it down and tell me in the morning." So I did that. He actually had an office at the time. He said, "Why don't you take it over and do what you want to do?" And I was really excited about it. I painted it. I made business cards, and I went out to tell people what I was trying to do, and people just didn't understand. And at the time, I really wanted to make it into a profit, and I was just way ahead of my time. So I went back to work. I practiced some of my techniques inside the office where I was working, and I developed my first product was my first natural tooth whitening pen. So when my kid went off to college, I sold my house. I bought a 45-foot motor coach, and I took my first product, which is White Tonight, the natural tooth whitening pen. I got in that RV, and I drove across the country for 7 years building the brand. Wow. Before social media. Literally pounding the pavement, getting into Whole Foods, and just expanded throughout the United States, ending up in California. So now, getting back to it, the service part of my dream is now coming to fruition this year, where we will provide also the service of effective, affordable, and more natural approach and preventative approach to dentistry to help people, because it's so expensive and it's so it's
Mm-hmm.
just it's a hard subject. So I'm trying to help people as much as I can with my talents.
And even today, I think this is probably a little bit new, especially when I hear the word natural in there. I mean, we hear the word natural applied in a lot of different ways, but when you say a natural approach to dental practice, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about using products that don't have chemicals in it because I'm very against chemicals. A lot of chemicals in oral care products today are toxic, and they create a lot of side effects for people. And it's very important not to create more side effects because people already have diseases and things like that that actually will show up in your mouth, and you want to treat these things. And that my opinion, you don't need the chemicals to do that. It just makes things worse.
I agree.
Does the natural approach make things better? I mean, I always look to flip it around. So chemicals makes it worse. Does the natural approach actually improve things?
In my opinion, it does because it gives your body a chance to help heal itself because our body is made to heal itself. When you
Mhm.
use chemicals and things that are too strong, you actually ruin the delicate balance of the oral microbiome in your mouth, which is that chemical, which is the balance between good and bad bacteria. So a lot of people overdo it, with a lot of chemicals. They think, like Listerine, for instance, if they don't feel that burn or the alcohol in their mouth, they don't think they're doing a good job. It's not killing the bacteria. Or
Yeah.
if they don't scrub their teeth, so hard that they're not cleaning their teeth properly, it's totally opposite. So, it's just about education and teaching people proper techniques and using proper products the right way. And if you do that in a daily routine, as I've designed, you can really save yourself a lot of time, money, and extend the years of your life.
So Neo is like chomping at the bit right now. I mean, I can just hear it the way he's saying, yeah, all right, let's. I'm just going to turn the mic over. Go for it, Neo, because you're just waiting for this.
Nah, you said undental experience, right?
Yeah.
What's undental?
Well, it's a very relaxing setting without, blowing up my secret sauce so quickly. It's just a very relaxing environment where people are very relaxed, and they literally like let go in the dental chair instead of being so tense and scared. It's just a way that I've created to really make people feel at home, actually, and really want to come back for cleanings and all.
It was funny when I first heard that dentistry had it last year. They had the highest suicide and depression rate. I'm like,
Oh
what?
yeah.
Like, what the heck? And then somebody, explained it to me. They were basically like, nobody wants to go to the dentist. People fear it. They don't
Yeah.
like it, and they're paying to be there. And then you get there, and like for me, every time I leave the dentist, my shirt is soaked. I'm
Oh,
sweating, anxiety the whole time, the whole second there in my mouth. I'm like, what is going on? Are they going to slip and jab me with something? And it does have a lot of negativity.
scary. Yeah,
Yeah, it
it's
does have a
very,
lot of negativity coming from the patient side.
right.
And then what's going on the inside, which kind of led me to what I was going to ask you next. Hygiene school.
Hmm.
How, like, I hear it's the worst thing on the planet. Honestly, how bad was an experience was that for you? Did you go through the stresses and all that normal people go through?
In hygiene school,
Yeah.
the school itself, that was very
Yeah.
stressful.
They say that hygiene school like ruins marriages and all
Well,
kinds of stuff.
I wasn't married, so I didn't ruin mine. But
There you go.
you know what? It's a lot of work and a lot of studying, and you just learn how not to be afraid because you're learning the back side of the profession. So no, I wasn't really affected by that. But the stress of the amount of stress that I have incorporated while I was trying to treat patients was the problem, because if the patient is stressed, it's very hard for me to do the proper work. So I did everything I could to try to make the patient relax without nitrous oxide, because I never worked with that. I mean, I'm certified, but never worked with it. But I just wanted to make people feel more relaxed, and because so you're more relaxed, I work better, and the result is better for you.
I need to ask a question here too, because my impression of the dental industry, and I have to admit, this is very much from afar. I have no up close experience with it, but my far away view is that every dental office I've ever heard of is emphasizing in their promotional pieces, their websites, advertising, all that kind of stuff, how much they care, how much it's the pain-free experience, how much, they're making it almost sound like it's a vacation. And that's the public face of it. And then here we have on the flip side, this conversation about high suicide rate, really tough mental state and so forth. And to me, there's a disconnect going on there. So I guess part of my question is the advertising and promotional hype accurate or inaccurate? And if it's accurate, why is there such a huge divide between the promotional piece and what's going on behind the scenes for the healthcare workers themselves?
Well, in answer to your question, they say that the highest suicide rates are from dentists because number one, they're working in a very small field, which is very hard to do. They're dealing with people that come to them in emergency situations and in pain. And number three, they have to pay a big bill when they leave. So these three things is really why dentistry is way at the top. In fact, I've worked for a dentist that had committed suicide who was very successful. And they get just very stressed out from those type of situations. So, it's hard. It's hard for them. And it's a hard business because they have to deal with so many different personalities and anxieties in the chair.
So is it all purely anxiety, or is the marketing face distorted, perhaps, is a way to say it?
I think they're going to hype it up regardless to be the best thing since white bread because they want you to come in.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And they don't just want you to come in, they need you to come in. Yeah. And the reason why I say that is, I didn't think of this before. Imagine if you had a jacked up smile, like your whole grill piece, we call it a grill piece in Jersey. All your teeth were just messed up. You're going to live a different life than you live now. You're not going to want to smile. You're not going to go places. You're not even going to want to go to the grocery store. You don't want to be on Zoom calls. And you're going to be a different person. Yeah. And so, you need to have a good smile to live a good life. And that's one of the big things about it. Like, let's get them in here to our office, doing their 6-month checkups, doing everything they need to do to keep that smile so that they could live good. Mm-hmm. And so it's more than a want, it's a need. As far as hyping it up to be a great experience, I mean, I don't have terrible times at the dentist office no more. When I was a kid, I would go in and have like 6-7 cavities every time I went. Now I'm straight, but I'm still terrified. I'm still, somebody's in your mouth with a needle, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. But here's the thing. I mean, now I can't say this is true for the rest of the country. I can only say what's going on in my area, going up probably 50 miles in all directions. It's really rare to find a dentist office around here that isn't booked 6 months out. Many of them don't even take patients anymore. And so I look at that and I say, well, all right, but doesn't that reduce the stress somewhat? I mean, you've got your patients coming in.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's the business side of it, which is the dentist has to think about filling his book and filling his chair and the dollar amount that he's making. So yes, I think that's less stressful, but the practice in itself, just literally practicing in someone's mouth is stressful.
Okay.
There's a lot going on.
And I know that Neil's got stuff. I'm going to throw one more question, and I promise I'm going to be really quiet for a while so he can just go do his stuff. Nah. But I know that for years there's been something of a cultural divide, maybe is a way to describe it, between the American Medical Association and the American Dental Association. Like doctors, medical doctors and dentists, it's like they keep each other at arm's length. And it's not exactly like the realms of holistic medical practitioners that are now becoming larger and larger in numbers, but it's not dissimilar from that. So I'm wondering, what role does that play? Does the dental industry as a whole feel like, I mean, well, for instance, most insurances don't cover dental care. Most Medicare doesn't. Most of the government insurances don't do it. So it's almost like it's its own separate animal, and it's not considered to be part of healthcare. Right. So talk about that.
Yeah, and that's frustrating because your oral cavity is the direct link to your whole body health. For instance, if you are scheduled for a surgery, you have to go to the dentist and sign off and have him sign you off that you don't have gum disease, because it can really affect the end of your surgery, your result. So you have to be in perfect oral health for any intensive surgery or surgical performances, number one. And then for instance, when you go to a hospital, they don't even have a dentist on staff, which I think is crazy, because I've had patients that literally wake up in the middle of the night when in excruciating pain because they may need a root canal. They rush to the hospital and they are sent in for MRIs, and a bill is charged up for like $6,000, and it was just their tooth. You know what I'm saying? So it should be combined. It should be together. It's the whole body. It's part of the body. It has not really been treated that way. But I think now today people are understanding that there is a connection between your mouth and your body. And I do agree with you on that.
They should definitely have somebody at least on call. I used to work at Cooper Hospital in New Jersey, and I was a security guard in the ER, and people used to come in screaming.
Yeah.
And they would give them ibuprofen and let them sit in the corner on a chair until, until daylight, because I was a midnight worker, and then they would send them to their dentist in the morning. And once again, they're getting that bill for ibuprofen, basically.
Right.
So I've always been a fan of that. So they need to have somebody in the ER, because I heard many times from many different women, and I say women for a reason, that the worst pain that they've ever experienced was a toothache. And the reason why I say women, because they've given childbirth, and they still say that the toothache is the worst pain they ever experienced. So to sit there and watch somebody just
suffer,
curled up in pain all night, it's just terrible. Somebody should be on call at every emergency room just for that. It wasn't every night, so that's why I wouldn't say just have somebody sitting in the back room waiting, but have somebody that's on call that you can
right. Exactly. And the reason why you feel that pain is because the nerves of your teeth don't run through your spinal cord. It goes straight up to your brain. So that's why the pain is so intense. It's a totally different nerve response, and that's why people end up in the emergency room, because it's just excruciating. So there is a reason behind that, and for that reason, they should definitely have a dentist on staff. I mean, they may call occasionally, oral maxillofacial surgeons in case someone's in a car accident and they need their jaw is broken or something like that. But they need like a general dentist, in my opinion, just to just diagnose and treat something more easily.
It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it.
Absolutely.
That's what they used to say about your gun as a cop. It's like when you're off duty, it's better to have it, not need it, than to need it and not have it. Exactly. And that situation is bring your dentist in. So I do want to ask you this. This show's called LOA Today. So where does the law of attraction come in with you?
Well, the law of attraction, I'm very positive thinking, and I'm, moving forward towards my goals and dreams. And I just use the law of attraction every day in my life. So,
how old were you when you first learned about it?
How old was I?
Yeah, when you first learned about the law of attraction, or first got it, because people learn about it at like 18, but they don't get it till they're 35. So when you first said, this is real.
Yeah, the first time I really learned it is when I went off to Italy. Before I went there, I was actually visualizing myself of going there, and I would just, in my mind every day, I would try to picture it and see it and attract it. And it's really funny, because when I ended up going there, when I first ended up at Lake Como, that was like the picture that I had in my mind all the time. So I knew, and I learned that if I visualize and I create this picture in my mind visually, I will achieve whatever I'm picturing. So I learned it when in my 20s, and so I carry on my life in that way.
That's cool. You're very unique, because you didn't learn it from like The Secret, like a movie or something. You figured most people I've talked to saw a movie. Like me, when I was 28, I saw The Secret, and it changed my life. Before that, I guess I was too much of an in the moment person to put the strings together. But after I learned the secret, I would look back at things that I did as a child, different visualization things, like playing football. I would go out on the field hours before the game started, and I would just stare at the field and just picture, 10-yard in, post pattern, 10-yard out, touchdown. All right. And I would just picture things. And I didn't know that's what I was doing,
Right.
So is there anything you do on a daily basis now? Morning rituals, affirmations, anything?
Yeah, I wake up every morning before I get out of bed. I'm always giving thanks, being grateful for what I have in my life, my health, number one, my family and friends, health to them as well. And I focus on my dream, my goals about helping people with my profession and my career, making the second part of my dream come true, which is the service business, getting out to people that I want to make dentistry affordable, and I want to help to eradicate dental disease, and I know how to do it. So I feel that that's my calling, and that's what I'm focusing on now. And basically, that's it. That's a lot. But, yeah.
No,
It is a lot.
Well, I'm going to keep asking you this, so don't get tired of it. Because
No.
our goals, as we achieve goals, we start changing them up, obviously, to the next level.
Mhm.
But outside of our goals, there's some key things that we're going to continue to do. Like me, like on my poker chip, I'll say thank you 10 times. That's always going to be an affirmation of mine. So like I said, Walt, I'm going to keep asking you this. Morning rituals, because Walt, you've been through so many changes in the past 6 months. I know your goals have obviously changed, but what you're doing, everything, has it changed or elevated? Mine usually changes when I read a new book and I'm like, oh my God, I got this new thing, the Silver Mind Control Method or something like that. Have yours changed up at all, Walt?
Yeah. Not so much changed as evolved, because it wasn't like I sat down and said, okay, I'm going to start doing this other thing instead. It was more like I just kind of slipped into a new pattern. And the new pattern has been kind of like what Dale was just talking about. It used to be something I would have to consciously do each morning. Now it just kind of happens. I just find myself pre-paving the day. It's just the first thought that comes to my mind is, okay, what's coming up today? What, where do I want to give my attention? What kind of result do I want? And it has become such a second nature thing from having deliberately done this kind of thing now for a number of years that I don't even think about it. I just kind of do it. There's no pre-plan of the pre-paving. It's just start pre-paving. That's it.
Now, do you make sure, like, I'm militant about it, I ain't getting out of my bed until certain things are done? Are you like that, or you'll do it as you're getting up and walking around?
Well, let's put it this way. My cat thinks I don't get up early enough.
It's funny how these pets of ours end up ruling things sometimes.
That's right. Yes.
They say you walk your dog, but every time I look, it looks like the dogs are walking people. It does. I seen this lady getting dragged by her German Shepherd the other day. I'm like, you need help with that? What about you, Dale? Any morning, as you progress, like I said, normal goals change, but anything that would be every day that's just evolved into a new exercise because it just serves you better? She might be frozen. She hasn't looked in a while.
Oh, am I frozen?
A little bit.
Your image is frozen and your audio is a little bit distorted, but give it a shot.
We never really got around to it earlier, you guys, but her car was, you guys see what happened in Fort Lauderdale on the news. The whole airport was flooded. A lot of people got messed up and her car was in that situation. You know what I think is weird? My sister was one town away. Fine.
You can get touched, really?
Fine. Just watched it all happen from her window. It was like literally just Fort Lauderdale. And the towns aren't that far away. She's in Pompano. It's Fort Lauderdale, Pompano, both of the time. She's in Pompano watching it happen outside of her window with popcorn. Just fine.
I actually we had to disconnect, so she'll reconnect in a minute. We'll bring her back into the conversation. But I had an experience similar to that a number of years ago when we were living in Virginia. Here she comes. She's connecting back in now.
Hi.
When we were in Virginia, there you are. Whoops.
About that.
Sort of. We almost have a connection there.
Almost.
Anyway,
You hear
to
me?
finish the story, sort of. Yes, we're kind of getting you.
Wherever you were
Roy.
10 minutes ago, go back.
Gotta go back there.
Find a good spot, right?
2 blocks over.
That's it. Yes.
I'm sorry. Okay, you'll get me now.
California. Just remember that was the.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Is that
It's getting
better?
better. It's getting better.
Okay. Give me just 1 minute and I'll be in a good spot.
I appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you.
So while you're getting into a
Okay.
good spot, I'll finish my story. But when we were in Virginia, there was a storm that was coming through. It's kind of similar. It wasn't rain like you had in Lauderdale, but there was a storm coming through, and it was coming right at our house. I mean, you know how you can look on the radar map, and you could see it was coming right at our street, right where we lived. And so Louise and I just started doing the thing about, here we're going to visualize a better result. And long story short, after this storm passed, it was what they call a microburst, which is kind of like a little mini hurricane tornado thing. After it passed, we took a little drive around the neighborhood, and our house and each of the houses, 3 to the left and 3 to the right, were fine. Everything else looked like a bomb got, landed on it. So we had protected 3 houses out.
That's it. That's it. I love that. Energy, baby.
So Dale, let's see. You got a better connection? Can you hear us now?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, well, that's much better. That's
Okay.
much better.
Yeah, I was in a bad zone there. I'm back.
Yeah. No, that's all right. I have no idea. Oh, I guess you were answering the question that Neo raised, which is, is there anything that's changed recently, kind of evolved in what you do with your not just your early morning practices, but what you do throughout the morning and into the day?
Has it changed? No, I just try to stay focused on my dreams and goals and visualize where I'm going, and that's it. It's just become part of my life. I don't really pay attention to it as much, I could say, but yeah, I try to just live. I try to live that philosophy.
Yeah, so that's very much like what I do now. You're pre-paving throughout the day. And do you check in with yourself? I tend to do that throughout my day. I check in to find out how I'm doing, how I'm feeling, where I'm giving my attention, and then make tweaks. But do you do that at all during your day?
In a way, yeah. I try. Believe it or not, I try to get to the spa every day, because that's where I like zone out and try to get the negativity away from me. I go in the sauna or the steam room, and I just very fortunate that I have access to this, and that's part of my new ritual. I would say that's something new.
Okay, yeah, so there's a new one for you, Neil.
Peaceful. I'm a fan of the dry heat room, or whatever you call that. Not the steam room. I had a bad experience in the steam room. It was LA Fitness. It was really long.
Oh no.
And I went all the way to the back, and I was just chilling, and this guy came in, and he put his little drip in the little thing, like the thermometer, the temperature. I don't know what he did, but all of a sudden it smelled like Vicks Vapor Rub, and it got 10 times hotter.
Oh yeah.
And it was so much that he left less than 15 seconds later. He was like, this is too much. And so I was in the back. I'm like, dude, he just destroyed this whole experience for me. Whatever. I'm just going, I'll eat it. And then I got lightheaded, and I was like, I gotta get out of here. So as I'm walking, I started stumbling. I was like, oh man, am I even gonna make it to the door? And so yeah, it got scary for a second. So yeah, I don't really like the steam rooms too much, but the dry heat is the bomb. No, but the reason why I asked about the morning rituals is I talked to a bunch of people about things like that. And I noticed that guys are saying things like, I go over all the events of the day. And I'm like, how? And it sounds like they're planning, they're going through their schedule. I have a meeting at 2:00 with this person, a meeting at 3:00 with this person, and I'm gonna go do this, and I'm gonna come home by 5:00. I'm gonna do this. And I'm like that just sounds like a normal schedule. Where's the law of attraction at? Where's the happiness? Where's you making that meeting go great, seeing
Right.
it as though it already went great, like it happened yesterday. Like, where's all that? And they're not really implementing that into it. So I got to kind of nudge them in that direction to don't just see the meeting like I have a meeting at 3 o'clock. See it like my meeting at 3 o'clock went amazing, you know. And so, you know, things like that, making little changes. I'm always optimizing everything from my trailer to this desk, like trying to find ways for things to flow and work better. So my morning rituals, if they stay the same for 3 weeks, I'm surprised.
Mhm.
There's always some kind of like lofty questions was a big one. Asking instead of saying things like I attract great people or I always eat healthy. If those two statements aren't accurate, when you say them, the ego is going to pop up and say, no, you don't. No, you don't. Look at this. And it's going to start to prove to you why that's a lie. But when you ask a question like, why do I attract great people? Why do I always eat healthy? It's kind of like the universe has to show you why. And then you start eating healthier and you start meeting all these great people who are making, you know, positive changes in your life. And so I'm a real big fan of lofty questions. And, you know, that wasn't even in my vocabulary in February. So, you know, just always implementing new things and stealing from other people. That's really why I ask. The reason why I do all of this secretly is so that I got some extra stuff to do, some extra tools on my bat belt. You know,
Yeah, Neo is well known for taking notes on virtually any speaker or guest or anyone that he's meeting for the first time, and then taking those notes and applying those notes, because he spends 2 hours every night just working on himself, just doing, you know, all kinds of stuff on himself, and a lot of it emanates from those notes that he takes.
All of it's coming from those notes.
Okay, well, I was trying to be cautious, but all right, all of it.
All of it, because you know, I might get one mental exercise from Walt, and then you might say something later on, and then tonight, from something I learned from Debbie G, it just clicks that all three would work together to have me feeling a set way, that the ego couldn't come in and say, no, you don't, no, you can't, how dare you dream that big, and then I'll use that. So yeah, every night from midnight till 2 a.m, when the family sleep, everything's quiet. I'm either visualizing or meditating or just listening, which, you know, answers come to me, and I just that'd be the topics of my next videos that I do. But that's just at night. I'm putting in at least 6 hours during the day total on mind work. I'm like obsessed with this. I got stuff hanging up everywhere, a tattoo, you know, there's all kind of reminders in my house to do like different mental exercises. And some of them get overlooked, but I try not to do that. Try to do as many as I can. And evidently, I've been slipping lately. I had a 2-hour conversation before the show started with Laura Kalatz. She is big on laughter yoga. And yeah, my overall, what I took from that whole conversation was I've been slacking. I've been so worried about this computer programming and these new websites that I haven't been doing my mental exercises. And it is showing. So I'm getting back on that. Thank you, Laura.
Well, it doesn't show all that much, I have to tell you, because as far as I can tell, you're always a happy guy.
That's because I'm always smiling. That ain't going nowhere. Yeah.
The smile, that's important. A smile.
It is. Yeah. And I want to take that smile back to what we were talking about before and tie in what we're talking about right now by asking Dale a question about mindset. You created this program, or a series of programs, I perhaps should say, and products and so forth. You've created this overall approach to reshaping the dental experience, the dental office experience. And I'm wondering, to what extent have you included mindset and the teaching of mindset in that overall picture that you've been trying to create for people?
Well, when I practice, and what I'll be teaching in my technique is for people to also visualize the chairside operators, the professionals, is to actually in their mind visualize health while they're practicing, because I don't think people are that in touch with that type of thinking while they practice. You know, I don't know, because I haven't really spoken to many people about it, but I know that that's what I do, and I have a method to do that. But I think that if you visualize the person in your chair, you visualize that health, it just helps it a lot quicker. I don't know. This is my feeling.
And in your mind, in your experience, what does that health look like?
I mean, when I'm working with like diseased tissue and cleaning, I'm picturing restoring health back into that person. So it's not just a physical technique that I do. I do physical and mental at the same time with my products. So
So
that's
are
what
you imagining, like, if you're working on somebody's diseased tissue, are you imagining their tissue as if it were, pink and healthy?
exactly.
Okay. So you're actually creating these images in your mind of what the alternative is for that patient.
How I want that person to look after I'm done treating them,
Okay. All right.
which is important. I don't know if other people think that way, but I that's my teaching to people, is to think in a different way of healing. So, I don't know people in touch. I get my teeth cleaned too by people, but I usually clean my own teeth because, I can. But, when I'm in a chair and I have to get up because the hygienist is watching TV while she's cleaning my teeth and not paying attention, that disturbs me. You know what I'm saying? So how much people are focused in what they're doing in any job. It doesn't have to be dental. In any job, if you're not focusing to better what you're trying to accomplish, I don't think you're going to have success in that.
How receptive are people to that teaching? In other words, when you're working with or talking with health professionals, dental professionals particularly, and you're explaining that process, how receptive are they to it?
This is something that I will be teaching. I will be teaching it in the next few months. It's nothing that really released yet, but yes.
Okay, so we're right on the cutting edge here. We're about to see it explode into the world.
Exactly. Yes. You're getting a little appetizer here.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Neil, with all the dental conferences you've been going to, I'm curious what your take is on it. I mean, you've been doing a lot of presentation to people in that field about thoughts become things, about mental mindset and so forth. How receptive has the field been in your experience?
The dental world has been the most receptive I've experienced in my life. Out of all the different realms that I spoke in, of course, like police and fire, they think that it's all hippie talk. Firemen and police, not too many of them really into it. But out of all the different professions, the dental world has been super, super receptive to the idea of thoughts become things and spirituality and visualization. Dale, I love what you're talking about with visualizing. I'm gonna post it up now for everybody. It's something new. As a matter of fact, I'm just putting my website on there. If you go on the homepage of my website, I have a new thing called a huddle series. So every morning when you have a huddle, let's say it's 15 minutes long, the last 3 minutes or 2 minutes, you'll play one of my videos. And it'll be something inspirational, but a mental exercise. Just like my inspirational emails that I send out. Now you can get them through text message as well. So it's text and emails. It's some kind of inspirational message with a mental exercise that you could work on throughout the day. So like Dale said, when you are cleaning those teeth, instead of being like, oh, that's terrible, you're visualizing something else, anything else, whether it be something for the patient, or like one of my big things that I teach is while you're cleaning the teeth, you're thinking to yourself, man, I'm doing a great job. This person's going to be so happy with the results. This is going to change their lives. They're going to want to come back to the dental office and do more work and get that smile that they've always wanted. They're going to be happier. I'm doing such a great job right now. Like, I'm affecting the world. I'm changing someone's life. Going through those processes, like those type of mental exercises I have in the Huddle video series. So it's dope. I love it because I met so many dentists. They either don't like to speak publicly, so they don't want to get in front of the room, or they do. They just don't want to come up with a inspirational message every single day. Or even if they have the inspirational message, they just want to get through the huddles because they got other stuff to do. Either way, just play the video. Like it's right there. So that's my huddle series for that. And so yeah, like I said, the dental world has been so much more receptive. And it is bad because a lot of some people you talk to, they're just like, that's hippiness. That's hippie junk. We used to talk about that with Debbie all the time. And to have literally a whole profession, like I went to the New York dental meeting, 50,000 people. and I might have found 2 people that were not interested.
Wow.
Nice.
2. Everybody else was like, "Oh my God, I love your shirt. I've heard about that." Or my parents taught me that. Or I saw the movie The Secret. And they want to know more. They just don't. And they don't have the time, or they haven't made the effort to learn more, but they like the concept. They see how it's played out in their life and they want to know more about it. And I've been the guy that comes in and talks to the office. So I've been doing team retreats, the monthly meetings, the weekly meetings, morning huddles. I've been doing all that. And and just brightening up offices and making them a little bit better. With the law of attraction, as you know, it gets old. After the first day of doing mental exercises, you're like, the second day you kind of fall off. I like to be that person that comes in and reassures everybody and gives them a little bit more information. So they're like, man, I really do want to do this. Because once they really want to do it, they'll start to do it more often and implement it to their lives. And we got accountability partners where you got people working with each other. Like you said earlier, well, you asked her about the mindset thing. If once a day I ask you, hey, have your thoughts been serving you? Or, hey, you've done your mental check-in today? If once a day I ask one of my coworkers that and they ask me that once a day, you start to chisel away at some limiting beliefs. The office just gets better and it becomes an all-around better place. So I'm extremely happy with the impact I've been able to make, in the dental industry.
Awesome. Good job.
And Dale, can you give us I mean, maybe you can't, maybe not at a place where you can do it right now, but can you give us a taste of what your upcoming program is going to look like for people in the dental industry?
I'm trying to simplify it. It's really difficult to put it into words right now. It's a whole philosophy that I created, a whole technique, and using my products as well in the treatment. So it's like a 3-prong approach. It's something that I created, so it'll it'll be out soon. That's all I can tell you. I don't know how to say.
No, so it's still in the formation stage, and that's fine.
She has a secret sauce. She ain't trying to let out yet.
Yeah. I don't like to talk about things till they're ready to. I'm right there. It's already developed. The next step is just being there, and that's the next step. It's already visualized. It's already coming. It's just a matter of, very close. We're right there.
If you need any help with that, let me know. Over the past 6 months, I've made good with all the CEOs of all the companies: Henry Schein, Patterson, Benco, Glidewell, Darby. I'm in with all of them, speaking for all of them. Chicago Dental Society. I'm speaking in Greater New York in the next meeting in November. So if you need any help with anything, just let me know.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I'll definitely talk to you about that. Yeah, I just want to really help people afford a beautiful smile. It's not an expensive thing if you take care of it and know how to maintain it. And it just makes such a big difference in your life when you're smiling. It just, and I feel everyone has a beautiful smile. A lot of people feel bad. Oh, this tooth is crooked. This is that. I mean, everybody's smile is beautiful to me. And I say a smile is your logo. That's it. You got to take care of it and shine. And that's what you are, your smile. You are.
That's a great
preemptive strike.
Something else I want to bring in. I kind of I coached my question in terms of how you're going to reach out to dental professionals, but your answer also kind of suggested reaching out to patients. So I'm wondering, are you thinking about like sort of an overall thing? Are you combining it? Are you going to have like one channel for patients, one for dental practitioners? I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm kind of pushing you on something that you haven't totally formed, but I'm curious.
No, I mean, it's formed. It's just not out for the dental professionals. But I mean, on my website is for direct to consumer, and we have wholesale. We have a professional line and a line for the consumers and the line for the professionals. But the service that we're going to be doing is going to be incorporated with this, because by using dental products, you're never going to be able to stay clean and healthy. You have to go in for service, have to go in for your regular cleanings, go in for your exams, and have your oral cancer screenings and things like that. X-rays, because they're very important. They show us a lot of things that we cannot see, and these things are important. People need to be educated. Unfortunately, my mother actually died from oral cancer. like 6 years ago. I actually found a very aggressive, rare tumor in her jaw, and that was extremely shocking. And so, I feel like people need to know about going for their x-rays. Their Panorex x-rays are extremely important. Things show up on there that don't show up on your regular checkup x-rays. People don't like x-rays, but you need them to keep your life going. And there's just people need to be they need not to be afraid to go to the dentist. This is a big problem for a lot of people. They're afraid to go because they feel like they go in and things they can't afford it, or they don't have bad experiences. This is what I'm trying to help bridge that, bridge the connection between the public and the dental professionals, and just get it in a little tighter, just make people feel better and feel more comfortable about going.
You mentioned that you already have programs established on your website. Can you dive into those a little bit? Talk about what's there for somebody who's going to look, and what can they expect to see?
You mean products?
Everything.
I don't know what. I mean, I'm asking you to kind of verbally form for the listening audience. What kinds of things can they expect to find when they go there?
Go to the website?
To the website. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I have different products, and I have different what do we have? I have different routines for different products. I have different packages. Let's put it that way. I have packages for beginners, people that want to start a oral health routine. That's what I do. I can also personalize it. I always take appointments by phone. I never charge anybody if they have any questions about something. Maybe they need to ask about the dental field, or a product, or a service that they need. I'm always there, complimentary consultations. But my products are designed to go through the whole gamut, from tongue cleaning to gum massaging. It's a whole routine that you really should do on a daily basis, because it's the daily it's the daily tools and things you use every day that will keep you healthy and free of gum disease, losing your teeth, cavities, things like that.
Talk about a few of those things. Give us a taste, a flavor, if you will, of what some of those recommendations are.
Well, I first recommend starting off by tongue cleaning. That's very important because your tongue is like a sponge, so you want to clean your tongue. We have our tongue cleaner and tongue detox serum, which you can use on your tongue. It makes your mouth feel a lot cleaner and fresher. Then I have the oral pulling rinse. That's a cleanser for your mouth. It's based on the Ayurvedic philosophy of oil pulling, which they believe if you switch with sesame oil in your mouth for 20 minutes a day, that it will detox your body and pull toxins out. So that's where oil pulling comes from. And my formula is more modernized. So if you switch with it for 30 seconds, a minute or two, you'll still have a benefit, because it's not just plain oil. It's oil, but it is blended with herbs and extracts. So you have strong antibacterial, antiseptic properties. Then I have our tooth paste. We now make that with nanohydroxyapatite. We have, which is natural fluoride. We have our regular mineralizing toothpaste. We have our gum massager and our sonic toothbrush. And of course, my first product that we have is the natural tooth whitening pen that doesn't cause sensitivity, but whitens your teeth nicely.
Okay, you mentioned a phrase there that really caught my attention: natural fluoride. Now, my understanding is that fluoride itself is technically a poison. And so is a natural fluoride also still a poison? So
fluoride is toxic in high levels, and a lot of the natural world frowns upon that. And I do as well. But nanohydroxyapatite is a element that had been discovered when the astronauts went off to the moon, and they came back. They realized that their teeth had been demineralized, also their bones. So a Japanese company actually invented a nanohydroxyapatite toothpaste with this element that has the properties of fluoride but is non-toxic. So that's what we're using now in our toothpaste and our oil pulling rinse, which is amazing because it actually helps bond your tooth structure. Your enamel is made of hydroxyapatite, and this is nanohydroxyapatite. So it bonds onto the tooth surface, making it very strong. It remineralizes it naturally without toxicity.
So it sounds like it's doing the same thing as fluoride, but it's not using fluoride.
Exactly, and it's non-toxic.
Okay. Yeah. Because that's the part that confused me. I said, well,
Oh, yeah,
is there such a thing as healthy fluoride? Okay.
Yeah. Fluoride is the element also, but it's non-toxic. I mean, that's toxic. Sorry. Yes.
How long before you would see or feel results using that?
Well, I mean, with my product, I mean, if you use my oil pulling rinse, for instance, even with or without nanohydroxyapatite, after you use it for 30 seconds, your mouth feels like you just brushed your teeth. I mean, you'll feel something right away. You're going to feel cleaner when you use it. If you're sensitive, for instance, and you're using the nanohydroxyapatite, that may take time for your sensitivity issue to go away. I can't say how long, or because I don't know what is wrong or how you developed the sensitivity, but that's supposed to help with sensitivity. So, it's kind of a difficult question because, everyone's going to feel something different at a different time because everybody's different and has different situations. But you'll feel cleaner once you brush your teeth, or you'll feel a difference. The people love my oil pulling because it's almost like lotion in your mouth. That people that are on chemo, or people that have dry mouth, or people that don't have any issues, it's so soothing. I wasn't going to make a mouth rinse because in practice I never saw a difference with the people that used mouth rinse or didn't, and I'm very skeptical. If I don't see it or feel it, forget it. I don't recommend it at all. But when I heard about oil pulling, I felt a difference right away, and I just wanted to improve upon it, and that's how I made and developed the oil pulling rinse, which is actually first to market. It was first on the market as an oil pulling rinse back in 2010. So
That's pretty dope.
Yeah, that's an interesting insight. I mean, it's interesting to hear you describe kind of going into up close, detailed description of what it does, because I think that helps make it real for people. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to bring that out. The other thing that I'm thinking about here is, I mean, we were talking earlier about the fears that people have about going to the dentist or anything that's tooth related. And as soon as that thought process was going through my mind, I have a thing that I often do. Whenever I'm focusing or finding myself being directed to focus by somebody else on something that is generally considered to be negative, I'm immediately turning around my head and saying, okay, so what's the flip side? What's the positive of this thing? Whatever it is that we're talking about. And so when the whole topic of being afraid of going to the dentist or fearing anything related to dental situations is concerned, I'm asking myself, what's the positive side? Where's the flip of that? And rather than me trying to define that, I'm going to ask you to define that. So what's the flip side of this?
The flip side, I mean, that's what I'm trying to create, is a flip side of it, because there's so many different types of anxieties that people have when they come in. For instance, I had a patient that had to keep his eyes closed the whole time because he just pictured like knives stabbing him. I mean, and I said, okay, if that's what you want to do, close your eyes. It's fine. That makes you feel better. People have these anxieties from their childhood. Everybody's just so different, it's really hard to say. That's why I try to flip it and try to make people so relaxed that, I have people, when they're done with my cleanings, they're sleeping or they're crying about things that they've gone through, and it's just a very mental thing. It's very emotional because the patients are allowing you to come into their body. It's very intimate. These people are allowing you to come into their body and work in their body, and they're awake at the same time. You know what I'm saying? It's not like a surgeon where everybody's out. You're actually working inside their body, and there's so many different psychological things you have to be aware of when you're working on each patient, because everybody's so different. So when you talk about flip side, for me, I don't know about anybody else, but I try to flip it and make each person feel so comfortable that they don't want to leave.
Well, what about for yourself? When you think about it for yourself, how do you what is the flip side from your perspective? How do you see the flip side?
How do I see the flip side of being in a dental chair? You're asking?
Well, of the fears and concerns and stresses and so forth. I mean, I think Neil was kind of asking that question before when he was asking what you visualize for your day. I'm kind of zeroing in specifically on how you think about it differently from the way other people do, so that you're feeling good about what you're doing.
Well, personally, if I'm in a dental chair, it's one thing, because when I try to visualize it, it's very stressful for me because I know what the people are doing. So it's stressful. That's
Yeah.
flip side for me. But I mean, I don't know. It's a very hard question to answer. It's very hard.
I think it's an important one. That's why I keep kind of honing in on it, because there's so many areas of life where we don't take the time to figure out what the flip side is. And it's not just here. It's like there are topic after topic, field after field. You talk to somebody who's the expert in their field, and yeah, I want to turn things around. I want people to have a better experience. But you ask them, what is the better experience like? And that's where we start losing words. It's like the words don't seem to exist. So we need to kind of create them. We have to create a new narrative. Is what we have to do with each of these situations. I'm trying to pushing to create those narratives.
You blocked out for a minute. I lost a sentence that you were explaining, sister.
Oh no. Yeah, we've been experiencing that too from your end, but that's just because of where you had to connect today. And hey, we're just glad you were able to connect it all. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But Neil, let me go to you on that, Neil. What's your take on this? Because you and I are always looking at what's the flip side. Where do you see the flip side for any of these things we've been talking about?
I actually wanted to hear your version.
Oh,
As you were prying away, I said, I wonder where he's going with this, because I know you always got deep inner, thoughts on things.
I usually, with any kind of topic like this, with any field, I start with where do I want to be, and what is that like? Can I create can I mentally paint a picture of it, or even physically paint a picture of it? Can I draw it in some way? Can I draw a scene that describes drawing from the Neville Goddard concept? Neville talked about feeling being the secret, and he talked about creating the end result, the end scene in your mind. So, for instance, if he gave an example of somebody who's trying to become successful in business, what does that look like? Well, in his theory, it was create the scene where you're shaking hands with the man who just sold you the franchise that's going to make you millions of dollars. It creates an active scene of success, and it has a positive association, because like, yes, I know if I get to that point, things are going to get so much better for me in my business life. So that's what I'm trying to look for. I'm trying to look for what's that scene look like. Now, for myself, where dental is concerned, I like to think in terms of what does it feel like to have healthy teeth? I don't necessarily know the science behind it. I haven't done the kind of studying that Dale has done, but I can certainly imagine in my own mind, well, what do healthy teeth feel like? What does it feel like to have them? What does it feel like to show that smile? What does a smile feel like? What is the experience of dealing with other people on a regular basis who also have smiles, who are even willing to show their smiles? What happens if I'm dealing with people who are showing their smiles all the time? These are the end states I'm trying to create in my mind on a regular basis, and they become the basis for how I do a flip. Does that answer your question?
Okay. So, I mean, you're seeing it, and then you taking the steps to make it that way, basically, right?
Well, not so much taking the steps as taking the mental steps.
Okay.
It's not. It isn't so much an action step. It's more of a mental creation step. Imagining a scene, a final result scene. That's the great inspiration that Goddard had. He said, visualize the end result. What does the end result look like? What does that scene feel like? Play that out in your mind. Don't make it complex. Don't make it really. No, don't write this play. Just make one scene where one thing is happening that represents for you the end result that you're trying to get to. What does that scene look like?
Not going into the dental office.
No. That's creating a not scene.
A preemptive strike, which means take care of your teeth before you get up. Before you have to.
Okay, you're getting closer now, but we want to avoid the not, because there's no such thing as a not scene.
So if you're there,
can only be a replacement scene.
You know what? I would like to, because for me, I'm sweating in the waiting room. You haven't even done anything yet. I don't even know who I'm seeing that day, because at my dentist office, we get whoever's available. So if I'm getting my teeth cleaned or whatever, I start sweating in the waiting room. If I could, if there was an atmosphere created to where I wasn't like that, I don't sweat like that in the doctor's office.
Well,
and
let's take that
Dale
scene.
said, like Dale said, they're going in your mouth, but not only are they going in your mouth, for one, your mouth is like one of the most important things to you. You don't let any, and they're going in your mouth with sharp objects and drills, which automatically in our mind, sharp objects and drills, we don't want them near us, period. Now they're in the most sacred part of our body. And sometimes there comes association with pain. I had a doctor in New Jersey. I'm not afraid to say it's Dr. Slutsky. He used to numb me and then I would have pain, and then he would say it's in your mind. He would say it's in your imagination, and I'm screaming. I'm a little kid. This is my whole childhood, so I have special area of anxiety for this whole dental chair.
All right, so
I would like for a situation to where those feelings weren't there.
What you're expressing is exactly the kind of thing that I think this kind of thing can attack really well. So, you described the part that you don't like and you did it eloquently, really eloquently. Can you construct for me what the scene would be like at the end of the dental session, the dental chair session, where everything worked out exactly the way you hoped it would? Not the way you feared that it would, but the way you hoped that it would. Can you construct that scene for us?
I've had dental visits where it was like that. And it was cool. I went in there, I stayed positive. The initial cleaning, I stayed positive. Everything was cool. I had, after a while, out of the 6 or 7 hygienists they have, you start to get the same ones over and over again. And I knew this lady was cool. So she did her thing. And then afterwards, we did the x-ray or whatever. And then we went and saw the doctor. There wasn't nothing in the x-ray. The doctor came in. He talked. I was on my way out the door. So I've been in that situation, and that would be ideal. A successful visit. I got my teeth clean, and ain't nobody had to drill on nothing. And the fact that I knew that nobody had to drill or do any of that, it was, it made me so much more relaxed.
Good. All right. So let's see if we can condense that down to a single scene. And I'm going to propose one. You tell me how accurate it is, or you can tweak it any way you need to. But the scene that I'm imagining right now is the session has just finished, and you're amazed because, oh, wow, there was no pain. It went swimmingly. Everything worked out great. My mouth feels great. Like, I don't have to stay here anymore. That was like the easiest dental session I ever went through. Hooray. The scene is that right there, that feeling, that expression right there. That's the flip.
Right before you walk in the office, that's what you got to say to yourself.
Exactly. So
it's written on the shirt, y'all.
There it is. So the long answer to the question of how do you flip, that's how you flip. That's how you do it. You create that mental image in your mind, and then you play it, and that becomes your reality. More often than not, for sure, especially if you're what they call vibrating to it. In other words, if you're feeling it, you're really, really feeling it. Like, yeah, that's the way it's going to be.
So in other words, I was manifesting all those terrible experiences.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the hard part to admit, but that's what we do, isn't it?
Collective energy it's a B.
I mean, Dale, isn't it true, Dale, that what patients tend to fear is actually much worse than what happens most of the time? Not all the time, but most of the time.
That's
Absolutely.
life.
Yeah.
That's
right.
everything.
It's true.
You can get pulled over by the cops and be like, "Oh man, I'm gonna have to pay $1,000, $1,200," and then they're like, "Here's a warning. Go ahead."
Nice day.
It's it's like that.
Well, this has been a really interesting conversation as usual. And Dale, once again, we have to thank you for being a trooper. And despite the fact that you're having to deal with a rental car and deal with all the craziness with the rains and the water in Lauderdale area, but you were able to do the show anyway. We really appreciate that very much. Tell people once again how they can find you in case somebody does want to reach out and learn more about the programs that you have to author.
Sure. Our website is www.daleaudrey.com. I think it's showing up there on your screen. And you'll have a special coupon for your listeners for 20% off. It'll be LOA is the code. And we just appreciate everybody. And you can follow me also on Instagram, Dale Audrey R.D.H. I'm there also, but I'm also, like I said before, I'm also available for any free consultations at all. You just sign up on the website. I'm here to help you in any way I can. And I look forward to hopefully seeing everybody and in our future retail outlets, not outlet retail, but our stores and our dental office. So we're here for you. We're here to help everybody.
That sounds great. And we will include a link in the show notes to make it easy for people to find their way to that special page. One final thing that I need to tell you that I tell all of our guests, you, like so many people who come onto the show, you're a giver, and givers often reach people that they never meet and they never see, and they never get appreciated for it. So I like to appreciate it. So on behalf of those people you've never met, you've never seen, who have been benefiting from the podcasts that you've done and the articles you've written and the products you've gone out, put out, and so forth, on their behalf, thank you for what you've been doing and what you're continuing to do, because it's making a big difference.
I appreciate it very much. More than words. Thank you, guys.
Shout out to our military and first responders, and everybody. Make sure you dance, love, and sing today. It's Friday. Come on.
I love that. I was going to ask you to summarize it, but you just summarized it beautifully, Neil. I didn't even have to ask you. Well done.
Mic drop. That's why it's on the stand.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you guys much. Thank you to our podcast listeners everywhere. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.